Dare, back with another video, and I hope you guys are doing well, enjoying your tis the season, and spending time with your family and staying safe. So we're gonna jump right into this video. Also make sure that you like this video and subscribe to my channel. So from the title of this video, you already know what we're kind of talking about. And the reason why I wanted to talk about this today is because I've gotten this question a lot. And I hope that me sharing my experience of what I've dealt with in the past year and a half helps someone, because that's always my goal in life. I've got my master's in nonprofit management and leadership for a reason. And I genuinely love to help people. So first and foremost, this is about how I've been able to stay sane dealing with 2 heavy griefs in a 2-month time span. Yes, you'll see Baxter be his greatest self, and hopefully we don't have to make any edits due to his barking. But yes, so in the past year and a half, October 10th, 2020, I lost my grandmother, paternal grandmother, to lung cancer. And on that same day, my mother was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer, which led to her passing away December 13th, 2020. Okay. So just so you guys kind of have an understanding, while also dealing with the I won't say panoramic, but y'all know, the pandemic. I am going to be as transparent as humanly possible during this video, because like I said, my goal is to share what I've learned through this experience in order to help others. So first thing first is that this is not going to be me pulling different Bible scriptures and a Christian-based video, because in reality, for me, like I said, I am sharing my experience. Now, if you have your own experience, I would love to hear about it in the description bar below, or reach out to me on any of my social medias, email contacts that are available below. I personally feel as though when you're kind of going through those things, you don't necessarily feel as though God is good. You know, for me to go through a day where I lose my lose my grandmother in 1 hour, then go see my mother in a hospital to find out that news in another hour, and then have to watch her fastly decline after watching my grandmother slowly decline, then watching my mother fastly decline from a very similar disease that has a very similar ending, was a lot. And nowhere in that moment I had extreme faith, but once it was all said and done, I can't lie that I wasn't unhappy with the decision that was made between God and my mother, because my mother was very at peace with her decision, and God, I felt as though they did not include me in the decision making. Yes, I don't feel as though they included me in the decision making process. But let's just get into it. And I do want to say I have recorded this video numerous of times today. One, I decided to do it at night because I think I just like the coloring of just like my apartment recording here at nighttime compared to my other apartments recording in the daytime. It just kind of overshadows with the light coming in from the back, what have you. But yeah, so, excuse me, let's get into it. So one thing first that I learned from this experience is learning, which I already knew, and I've already practiced this pretty well, just because I've always, been wanting to help people, but also wanting to keep those private moments to myself, but being transparent and a private person at the same time. Because when you're dealing with these type of situations, it's going to be ever changing with day-to-day things. There was never a day that was alike during any of these days. It wasn't like it was a routine or anything. It was literally different things happening every day. So, and a lot of the times you can't just, reach out to people like you would want to. So for instance, with my grandmother was a very political or very public figure in the Charlotte community. And once we noticed that, it was time to just make her more comfortable, we became very more reserved with letting people know what was going on. And then with my mother was always a very private individual, no matter what. So kind of going through hers, with hers also being a lot quicker, didn't really have as much time to let more people know what was going on. And she also didn't want to worry a lot of people. So that is one thing. And so when my mother was sick, you wouldn't have even known that she was sick. I did not share it with anyone publicly. It wasn't posted on social media. If I would have had it, I probably wouldn't have even posted that she passed for 2 days, just because it was a pretty overwhelming experience to watch someone go and to kind of process all of that, because I was with her all the way until. But there were some people that weren't notified and posts being made, to which led me to say something about it. Also, one thing that I am in particular, like I said, sharing my experience, is not taking pictures of my grandmother nor my mother. There's no pictures in my phone of my grandmother nor my mother taken by me of them once they were really sick, just because I want to remember them for the life they lived, not the sickness. I also don't want to share those type of pictures because I want to share the happy times. And I don't consider any of those times to be happy. Also, to respecting their privacy. They're no longer here to kind of say what they would want to do with that type of thing. So that's just not what I prefer. Number 2 is to find joy every day. Every day you are going to wake up with a heart-wrenching feeling that punches you in your gut and breaks your heart. I don't even know, and I've been through, relationships that did not last and heartbreak, and I never felt my heartbreak as much as the early stages of waking up every morning knowing that my mother was no longer here. And it was a lot. And so I knew early on that I was going to have to do something to get myself out of those dark places. Because when I was a teenager and my grandmother passed, it was and that's my mother's mother, it was very difficult for me. And I did not want to kind of go back to that because I am an adult now have freedom, and things can go way more extreme. So I knew that I needed to get therapy. And I knew that I wanted to set myself up on a routine. So I decided to contact my personal trainer that I used to work with a couple of years back and began working out every day around 9:15, 9:18. Let him tell it. But yeah, routine is important. And in that routine, find something to do that day that you really want to do. Whether it's going to a park or maybe hanging out with a friend, maybe having a really good phone call with a friend, spending extra time with your dog or your pet, getting your favorite lunch, balancing it with, really fun things with, really, regular but still very fun. That doesn't cost, it's not so much of a monetary requirement. And also just understanding that you are human. You are human. And with us being human, we have emotions. And do understand that with grief, you will want to, do things to kind of mask those feelings, as far as buying things, maybe having sex, having rage moments, rebellion. But do understand that there is a big difference between joy and happiness, okay? Joy is permanent. Happiness is temporary and ever fleeting. And those certain things that you're doing that aren't really instilling and bringing that joy out of you and are just happiness moments, are buying something, being really angry, those type of things. Do understand that those are very fleeting moments. And when it is over, you will still be sad as hell. Okay? If not sadder. So just understand that, yes, it's okay, but just know that it's not going to last. And early on, I did come to the conclusion that I did not want my mother's hard work and investments to be spent or used in vain. So the next thing is, in all of that, is to take a sabbatical. Take a sabbatical if you are able to. I would suggest at least 6 months to a year, depending on how important that person was to you. Because you have so many things to kind of handle on a day-to-day basis that it's going to make it very difficult if you're, I describe dealing with grief like the little engine that could, right? But you're going up this hill and you're trying so hard to get up that hill, right? You're like, oh my gosh, like I don't think that this is ever going to feel better, right? And it's going to be so much harder if you're having to be your best self in the outside world when you don't feel like you're your best self on the inside. It is not going to happen. So until you can get to a somewhat better place, because it's never going to be the same, because the person in the life that you lived before that person's transition is not going to be the person in life that you live afterwards. It's just that, depending on how big that person is, okay? So for instance, my grandmother, I loved my grandmother. We had so many great conversations, and my mother was my everything. My mother was my best friend. I told her a lot of my life, way more than my peers, because that was just our dynamic. It's always been just us. Always been just us. So with that being said, I knew that I needed to take time off. I took about 7 months, only because I also had to, I had a time sensitive on me moving to Houston. And